I'm sorry? Not live yet. So I'm going to stand here and talk until we get live. How do you know when we're live? There we go. Oh, okay, so now we got to count down. Okay, so now we're live. All right, so we're going to hear from Veronika Heimsbakk from Capgemini. She's going to tell us about Reasonable Ontology Templates, or OTTR. This isn't the fuzzy little animals. I think if it were fuzzy little animals, we'd have more people in the audience. But it's actually even more interesting than fuzzy little animals if you're into actually building semantic data at all. So I'm just going to turn this over to Veronika and have her tell us all about it.
Thank you, Dean. Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this tiny, obscure little corner of semantic technologies. I'm going to talk about how we do graph enrichment at the Norwegian Maritime Authority using reasonable ontology templates. So this is a cooperation between domain experts and us semantic consultants. Okay, yeah, as Dean said, I'm Veronika Heimsbakk. I'm a managing AI engineer in Capgemini based in Norway. Yeah, not much more to say about that. I've been working as a semantic technologies developer, starting out with Java 8 years ago. Yeah, touched into a lot of weird semantic projects over the years. Anyways, I'm here to talk about OTTR, Reasonable Ontology Templates, which is a language with supporting tools for representing and instantiating RDF and OWL for that matter. It is designed to improve the efficiency and quality of building and using and maintaining knowledge graph bases. So here is the pipeline that we have implemented for the past 3 years now at the Norwegian Maritime Authority. The implementation of the pipeline took only almost 1 year, and the last 2 years we have been working with maintenance and improvement, and also enrichment. I started working with OTTR a couple of years ago, and well, we quickly discovered after implementation of this pipeline that we needed some sort of method for graph enrichment, because this pipeline here only automates generation of shackle constraints based on legislation data found in this text service that we identify context, concepts, and relationship, transforms them into shackle models, and then push them into our graph database. But there are information not found in the regulations and legislation documents itself. There are some information that exists in random spreadsheets around the organization that we need to enrich the nodes in the graph with. So there we have OTTR that can do that for us. So what we do is translating so-called code systems into RDF. And we are using tools for domain experts, and every single person behind a desk at the office know Excel, I suppose, apart from me. But that's another story. Everyone is familiar with Excel. So, and we also use these collaborative spreadsheets on teams that domain experts can work together on information. And often these code systems look like this. So we can see that we have, those who thinks in graph can see that we have categories here, and we have codes, which could be a unique identifier. And then we have labels in Norwegian and English. So that's quite easy to read with human eyes, but not that easy to get into top grade. So what we do, OTTR again. So OTTR is, as I mentioned, a language, a toolkit for representing RDF. So we're going to focus on the terse syntax for OTTR, called stotter, and the instance syntax flavoring tab OTTR for spreadsheets. So the TER syntax consists of terms and types, and a term could be a variable, constant, or a list of terms. This example shows a couple of variables, and then we have the URIs, either the full URI or a prefixed URI. We have blank nodes. We have the usual suspects when it comes to constants, literals, like string, type strings, or typed data types. We have integers and floats and booleans. And then we also have lists, and that's quite nice. And I hope most of you have worked with lists in RDF before, but anyways, the first example here is a list of 3 elements, coffee, banana, bread, and 42. And the second is also a list of 3 elements, but the first element is a list of 2 elements, and the last one is a list of 1 element. The type of a term is either a basic type, a list type, or a list upper bound type. Basic types, usual suspects again, you have seen them before. We also have some author-specific vocabulary that one can use. Then we have the list-specific types, and then we have the least upper bound types. And this NE stands for non-empty list. Okay. And then we have the template signatures. There's a lot of information here in a few slides, but please bear with me. Next slide is going to contain an example. So here in the signatures, we see the names of the templates, and we see some parameters in the templates. So the first example here is just 2 variables. The second example is a typed variable. It's an O class, and this exclamation mark means that it shouldn't be empty. And the second one, the double variable B, has a default value of 3.14. So if there aren't any value coming in at the position of the second parameter, the value is set to 3.14. And this question mark in front of the typing means that it is optional. Okay. So here we go. Here is a template from the Norwegian Maritime Authority. So here we're going to represent a document type of drawings. We are working with vessels, and on board of a vessel, there is a lot of drawings. For example, a fire control plan. So first, we want a non-empty ID. I haven't typed any of those. And the ID is going in here. Here we're creating a triple of RDF type. And RDF type is a much used triple, so therefore it exists as a library of templates that you can use. So there exists libraries for RDF, RDFs, OWL, soon Shackle, I hope, if I can get my finger out and finally publish it. But yeah, so the first line inside the template block writes out the triple, drawing, RDF type, document. And the second one types it a class. And the third one is a utter triple template, which just writes out the whole triple. So we have drawing, subject, subject. And there you go. We also have templates for labels and such. And please check out the library site of Otter. You can access Otter at otter.xyz. Apart from that, the Wi-Fi on this campus doesn't support or accept domains XYZ. So you have to be on 4G or something, but not on the campus Wi-Fi. Anyways, the OWL library of Otter are quite nice. So I can recommend you, if you're an OWL ontologist, to check out that if needed. Yes. Tab Otter is designed to be simple to use and simple to parse. So tab otter is basically a syntax flavoring for spreadsheets. So at the top of your spreadsheet, you start with the keyword #otter, and then the keyword prefix, and then you list all your namespaces with prefixes. And you end it with #otter and end. You don't have to state these namespaces, as they are included when running tab otter instances through otter implementations. So is this very, very tiny? Yes, it is very, very tiny. Okay, but the slides are available at my GitHub and also the conference page. I don't remember the name of the service now. Okay, anyways, we have the, you see at top here, we have the namespaces, and then we end the namespaces. And we start with a new tab otter specific line, which is #otter, and we state keyword template and the name of the template we're going to use to serialize these spreadsheet data. And then comes a row of numbering. So the first number corresponds to the first parameter of the template, and the second to the second, and the third to the third, and so on. And if you type in 0, it will be ignored by the otter implementation. And then the next line is the type, so IRI text. And then comes a line that is ignored by the otter implementation, which is up to you to state what kind of information do you write in these spreadsheet columns. And then I have my IRIs, and they are all prefixed, as you see. So I have the ESTIR, which is short for Sjøfartsdirektoratet, which is the Norwegian name of the Norwegian Maritime Authority. So it's basically NMA, fire control plan, fagområde, subject area, fire extinction, project code B11, Norwegian label, brannkontrollplan, and English label, fixed fire extinguishing systems, accommodation, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Anyways. Yeah. And the tab otter data types, as we saw, I have used IRI and text. But we have more stuff, of course. We have blank notes. We have IRIs. So instead of writing IRI up here, I could have written STIR document. And then we have auto. I have another slide on that one. And if you're passing a list through Otter, there is this plus sign that you put at the end. So if I were listing project codes, I would have given IRI plus. And the syntax flavor for listing elements is this pipe symbol between elements. Okay, so auto is quite nice because you could write anything, and there is a few rules that interpret that value. And here are the rules, and you can actually have blank values, even though if the column data is supposed to be not empty, you could write otter none for empty cell values. Okay, so the most used and probably the only otter implementation on the market at the moment is this guy, Lutra, open source reference implementation, which is downloadable from the GitLab repository of Otter. So how the heck can we serialize this data then? Well, you need the file with your template, you need the file with your data, and you need to know where to serialize it, which is also a file in this case, since we're using the Lutra command line interface. And then you need to state some information using these flags. So we have the location, the lowercase l of the Otter library, and then we have the input format of the library, stotter, We have the input format for instances, which is tabotter. We are fetching missing template dependencies. That means when I write O RDF type using that in my template, the F would then fetch it from the library, the Otter library. Okay, and then we have the output destination, our data. And this is the output. When I run the template I've shown you together with this data, I am copy pasting then line 14 here with the fire control plan. And that looks quite familiar, right? It's RDF turtle, as it should be. And in our case, these two objects already exist in the graph database. So this information on fire control plan will therefore enrich the already existing objects in our database. And of course, when we are running a lot of Otter serialization on large Excel documents, there might be some object values that aren't existing in the graph database. So we have some Sparkle queries in the Sparkle library to check for resources without descriptions. And if there exist resources without description, and this is a one-time job, luckily, we have to ask a domain expert, where do we find the code system for this particular resource? And then we get another Excel file and we do the work all over again. But this is a one-time job that takes a couple of months for the whole code system stuff. And then, since it's a one-time job, I push this button here, choose file, output, .ttl, and upload it into our top rate database. But it is also possible to automate this process. For those of you who attended my Otter tutorial on Monday, saw a slide with some Java code. So we implemented some semi-automated Otter serialization in our graph pipeline. But it wasn't intuitive to find out how, so I had to reverse engineer Lutra to find out how to do this programmatically in my code. But if you're interested in trying out automated Otter with Java, you have the answers in one of the slides in my tutorial deck. Okay, so some pros and cons. It is easy to serialize chunks of data using tabotter, and it is a recognizable tool for domain experts. And I find that quite useful working in Excel with domain experts because it's something they know, and they know the data, and I just have to make sure they follow the tabotter syntax so we can get the data into our knowledge graph. And the tabotter syntax is also quite easy for a domain expert to read. Don't guide them to the tabotter specification at Otter XYZ, because the guys behind Otter, they are academics, and they write quite academic specifications. Documentation is somewhat hard to read. So hopefully my tutorial on Monday and this presentation here will open the doors to a few more people when it comes to Otter. But anyways, where were I? Yeah, so I had to write a Confluence page for my domain experts on tab Otter syntax flavoring. Okay, it's difficult to automate, but it's not impossible. You have the answer on my GitHub account here, the Otter Masterclass. There is still a shortage of support of file formats, but it's been working. They work on it all the time, this specification. So they don't support CSV, for example, but they support Excel. Yes, and the documentation is somewhat hard to read. go check out the tutorial, start writing Otter, serialize your data. As we were talking about, we need raw data now. You can get it in RDF by using Tab Otter. At least I do for some cases. That's it. Thank you for listening.
So we've left quite a bit of time for questions. So that's all right. So do you have any questions from the room? Oh, here we go. And I'm going to see if I can find questions on the chat. I'm actually not logged in right now. Go ahead.
Just a quick question. I mean, it's more about the other author, when you pronounce it spec. Is it itself expressed in RDF? I'm curious. Like the spec itself, the templates and the language itself for creating those templates, are the constructs expressible or expressed in RDF as well?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
And, the water specification that I showed briefly, that was not a part of this talk, is how to write Otter templates in RDF Turtle. So it's possible.
Any other questions in the room? Yeah, I know I have questions.
Okay, so he knows Otter.
Yes, hello. You mentioned Shackle. So are you working on building a repository of nice Otter templates like the OWL and the RDF templates that are there?
Yeah.
With Shackle, maybe, please?
Was that a question or a request?
Yeah, I promised Martin that I would publish this Shackle templates like a year ago, and I haven't.
That's how I first learned about Otter, was the Shackle templates you were working on.
Oh, it was?
Yes, you were promising Shackle templates. I thought, oh, I'm interested.
That's a long time ago. Okay.
Yeah, it was like 18 months ago. Yeah.
Mm.
So
Time
yeah,
flies.
I think I'm with
Yeah.
you here.
But now we have the third Otter user forum coming up next week. So probably I have to have a job to do at the airport.
I'm still trying to find the audio. There we go. I joined the session using online. Any other questions in the room? Because I have one. So in some of the applications that we do with spreadsheets being turned into RDF, the end users, URI, they don't know how to spell URI. They want to put in an ID. They want to put in a list from a little controlled vocabulary, left, right, and middle. And they want the template to know, well, yeah, in this column, that's direction, left, right, and middle. And that ID at the front, well, that's actually referring to Agravoc. That's going to be Agravoc C-1397. They're not going to put in a whole URIs or even prefixes. Is there a way inside of Otter that I can build URIs out of more primitive data?
No, but it's a way in Excel. So I use concatenate all the time.
I'm not even ready.
That's the most advanced stuff I can do in Excel is concatenate stuff, and I do that all the time.
Yeah, that's for you. I'm talking about people who are filling out spreadsheets they're going to send to me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make them do that.
No, but you can do the formula. They can
if I can do that,
later.
I write Sparkle. I mean, I'm better at Sparkle than I am in Excel.
Same for me.
So are you, yeah. Good thing you have a comment.
I just have a comment. I think also the Butter templates allows you to have a sort of a middle layer where you can put in actually SQL, sort of a SQL layer between the sources and the templates.
So she was wrong when she said no. The answer is actually yes. It is important.
Sort of, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but Butter. That's not Tab Butter.
Very good. All right. There are some questions from here. Let me see. Okay, there. Oh, there's a question in the Q&A tab. There we are. Okay. Leah says, hi, Leah. I found a Python library for Otter. Do you know if the Otter authors have contributed to it? HBS Pippi org Project Otter.
Okay, I didn't quite catch all.
URL.
Oh yeah, cool. No, I don't know if they have contributed. I have to check out who is behind that one. I probably know the person, but yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's someone we know from DNB. I don't know.
Okay, all right. So I guess, Leah, the answer is no. Thanks for that link. Leah does this a lot. She turns things up and you go, God, I should have known about that. And she's done it to me too. Yeah, she does it to everybody. Okay, I don't have any more questions. Oh, there's a comment on that question. Yeah, that just took me to oh, there we go. So this is from RQNA Kumar guy. A very long name that I don't think is their actual name. It was the RDF lib does the same thing. So what's the most advantage point with your Otter Python library? That's talking about Python library. You're talking about a Java library, aren't you? What you were talking about just now. Was that a Python library or a Java library you were talking about? Java. That's what I thought. They're asking about a Python library. Well, I'm going to read the question as is, and then we'll figure out how to adjust it. RDF lib does the same thing. So what's the most advantage point with your Otter Python library? That's not.
I contribute to RDF lib.
Oh, okay. Is this your question?
So.
Okay. Do you understand it so you can tell us what it means?
I understand it, and whoever that is wrong. Sorry. RDF lib can't do that. So just in short.
I don't know of an RDF lib functionality.
Yeah, no. So in fact, I specifically wrote a tool on top of RDF lib to do things like that. I mean, there's this CSV to RDF command in there, but it's like a really naive conversion.
Right, right.
I mean, I wrote settler semantic ETL as a way to do that, to produce arbitrary RDF, but it's not like ontology specific.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
all right.
So yeah, it's.
So you can speak with authority.
Yeah, I can tell you because I
looked. Could you identify yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry, Jamie McCusker, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute.
Thanks. So, okay, boy, they were dodging bullets. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
So I'm just thinking out loud of like, okay, I would domain expert would put in things in an Excel, and then I might need to do some checks on it, like some quality assurance, not just that if description is there or not, or more like, has this an IRAP been referenced to already earlier, then that is a mistake. So already more complex type of checks. Thinking out loud, I will probably first use Starter to put it into RDF and then run those checks, right? Maybe, I don't know what comes there, but there's no, like, that's not what this templating language is for, right? It's not for doing those like more intense quality checks already on the conversion, but more like convert it and then do whatever logic you need. Yes, it wasn't a question, just thinking out loud.
Loud thoughts are the best ones.
I'm just going to point to people.
Hi, Veronika. I missed the first couple of minutes, but maybe even for everyone, can you summarize what the main value is and who the target audience is for
I can't
Otter?
hear.
Yeah. You pass the microphone up.
Yeah.
Sure. There you go.
Did you hear, Michael, what you were saying?
Oh, yeah. So he came in a bit late.
Yeah.
And so Michael's question was, he came in a bit late and wanted to understand the target audience and the main value proposition that Otter is addressing.
Oh, yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, thank you. I have a hearing disability, so I can't hear for too many meters. Yeah, the target audience is basically people and domain experts working with data that doesn't know the semantic technology stack. It's supposed to propose like an abstraction layer on top of RDF, making it easier to instantiate and serialize RDF.
We're down to our last minute, so we have a quick question. Otherwise, I'm going to make a nasty comment saying, if you don't expect your audience to know RDF, why are you making use URLs? But anyway, I've already done that. Did you have a last comment, Michael? Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Veronika. I told you it was going to be a lively discussion, and so I wasn't wrong, was I? Let's give her another hand, and we'll go on to our next.